Welcome, everybody. Good evening. This is our first knowledge sharing session from Audax India Women, and a warm welcome to all of you. Dr. Harpreet, Dr. Maitli will be introducing Dr. Harpreet Kaur, and we're hoping that you will utilize the session to explore and understand, get a deeper understanding about how to go about your nutrition planning for long distance and endurance riding. Over to you, Dr.
Thank
Maitli.
Okay, so I'm very happy to welcome all of you. So Dr. Harpreet is part of Audax India Women's Club. She is ultra cyclist, and she has also been a marathoner. And she started doing BRMs from 2021. She is assistant professor at the Department of Physiology at Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College. She is pursuing her PhD in exercise and physiology. She is MBA in hospital management and MSc in clinical nutrition and dietetics. For us, very important, she is certified clinical nutritionist and sports nutritionist from American Council of Sports Medicine. She has been into research, and she has 32 publications in national and international journals to her credit, and she has been awarded with 16 different awards at different forums. She's currently part of Khelo India initiative, and she has been selected by International Olympics Committee to pursue her postgraduate diploma in sports nutrition. So I think all of us are very keen to listen to Dr. Harpreet. So I'll hand over to Dr. Harpreet. You can begin with your presentation. And at the end of the presentation, we will have a question answer session.
Hi, Grini. Hi, Natalie. Hello, everyone. I'll just give me a moment. I'll just share my screen. So at the outset, I want to thank you so much to the Audax Indian Women's Club. It has been absolute pleasure to be here, and to share the knowledge, to speak about the nutrition aspects and importance of nutrition during cycling and ultra cycling. And I'm hopeful that with my little presentation, I think I can make a little difference in changing the concepts of the nutrition which everybody is practicing. So sports nutrition, now sports nutrition is like everyone. This is actually the most neglected part, I can say. We are training so hard day in and day out. We are training so hard for our activities, but somewhere we are neglecting the sports nutrition. And what basically we are doing, we are following each other. We usually ask our friends what you're having, how you're improving. So we try to follow, we try to imbibe what others are doing without understanding our own body, our own capacities, our own intensities, our own individual physiological limits. So there, the sports nutrition plays a huge role, as I told you, yes. So now this is what we exactly practicing are. These are the few definitions which I just took from the Google, that what is research? Because everybody is hearing today about the research. So research is the distance between an idea and realization. That's what we told just now, that we take an idea from somebody because somebody is doing good. So we'll just ask, what are you doing? What are you eating? How you are managing your sleeping hours? And we are practicing by ourselves. So it's like something what I am doing when I don't know what I'm doing. So I hope everybody will agree with me. Most of us will agree with me that when I also started my VRM, I was doing without exactly knowing what I am doing. So this also is the research. We are all doing the research on ourselves so much. So it's actually a formalized curiosity, which I can see in most of my BRM colleagues also, or cycling partners also. So, but there is a purpose. The good thing is that there is a purpose. We are doing it with a good purpose. So to start my presentation and to evoke some curiosity in you all, I wanted to share a story from the 1904 Olympic Marathon, which was held in 1904 in St. Louis, America. During that particular Olympic session in the marathon, which is also comes under a endurance sport. So what happened at that time? They actually declared that the full marathon, the participants, there were 34 participants for the full marathon, and that they declared that they thought that let us check, let us see, let us test the marathon runners' ability and without giving them water. Let us make them dehydrated and see how, how they are going to perform, which was very unlikely, which was very saddening thing or disheartening thing to happen. So out of 34, surprisingly 14 could complete this, but with a lot of hurdles. So what happened during that is, there were not only the track running, they were sent out of the track. You can see in this picture, they were sent out of the track where a lot of dust was also there, and there was no water stations provided. This is the man who is sitting nicely and posing for the photograph. His name is Fred Laws. So he was the one who actually, won the race. And when he was supposed to go for the victory ceremony, and the president's daughter was supposed to put the medal on his neck, at that time there was lot of shoutings and lot of screaming from the background screaming from the audience, saying that he has cheated, we have seen in the car. So what he did basically, he just ran for some miles, and after that he sat in the car, and just before 3 4 5 miles before, he got out of the car and ran for the 5 miles, and he was absolutely okay, he didn't have any problem. So this suspicious thing, again they rectified, and then this particular gentleman, then Thomas Hick, he was the person who, when finished his marathon, he was not even able to walk. He was accompanied by two persons over there, so to get him to the podium. That bad was his condition. So then, everybody thought, what exactly has happened? First thing was, there was no water station. So it was absolutely dehydrated condition. Second thing you can see was, there was so much of dust, so that when dust went inside, it also evoked the thirst mechanism. It also evoked the irritation in the throat, but there was no water available. So see the poor fellow, how he has planned his thing, and what happened to him at 10th mile. He actually, literally, it is documented that he begged for the water, and he just received a warm water sponge to suck. 7 miles to finish, he got the concoction of strychnine plus egg whites. So if you're wondering what is strychnine, because strychnine is basically a rat poisoning. But at that time, they thought that it is going to stimulate their brain and it is going to improve their performance. 4 miles again, when 4 miles was left to finish, again he got the concoction of strychnine plus egg whites, brandy, and soaked his body and head with the warm water. So probably, thank God, he didn't got the third dose of strychnine. Otherwise, it would have been fatal for his life also. 1 mile to go. Again, he was begging literally to eat something. And post race, what he got was only 2 egg whites and brandy. With the consequences of what plan he has done or what things he has received as a nutrition, he got heat exhaustion. He has dull eyes, stiff knees, hallucination, to the extent that he was not even able to go to the podium to receive his gold medal. In that timing, he lost 8 laps, and almost 4 doctors and 1 to 2 hours it took to make him only feel all right, not even healthy. So this was the first time when sports nutrition came into limelight, when everybody understood that it's not only the practice, it's also about how you're going to train yourself with nutrition, and what you're going to take on the day of your particular event matters a lot to get your peak performance. That was the first time that everybody, got awakened about the concept of the sports nutrition. Now, coming to cycling, because cycling is also an endurance sport. In Olympics, we have different categories. Just to mention, we have individual sprint, team sprint, Karen, omnium, medicine, BRM we are having now, which are non-competitive one, ultra cycling. So these all kind of sports in cycling itself, these all kind of events in the cycling, they require different energy systems. We have 3 major systems. So we have something called as phosphocreatine system, which is attached with your neuromuscular junction, aerobic and anaerobic system. But when we talked about, let me come to Anish, when we're talking about BRM and ultra cycling, its majority of it is aerobic system. Now, when we have to train ourselves, we have to keep the systems also in mind, because we are training the systems with the nutrition and with the practice, with the training schedules. And we have to remember that when we are doing our events, we are burning approximately somewhere between 400 to 1000 calories, depending upon our speed, our intensity and frequency, duration, and everything. Now, what this aerobic system is going to do for us when we come to this part. So there are factors which contributes to high aerobic power. First thing is your arterial oxygen content. Arterial oxygen content is basically your oxygen levels, and oxygen is carried by your body with the help of hemoglobin and the iron, which is inside the hemoglobin. So if your hemoglobin is less, if you are less deficient in your HB percentage or your iron binding capacity or your serum iron levels, this is not going to be proper. And when this is not going to be proper, your aerobic system cannot work optimally. Then comes your cardiac output, which depends upon your stroke volume and heart rate. Now, stroke volume and heart rate is something, if I have to tell you in very simple words, it's at the rate which is in which the heart is going to pump the blood. So it means the blood level has to be normal in your body to pump it. When it pump it, then only the oxygen it will take all over the body. So your blood levels should be normal. Then comes the tissue oxygen extraction. You should have good amount of mitochondria working. You should have good amount of tissues which are working to utilize that oxygen which is supplied to them. So all of them basically need good nutrition when you are preparing yourself for any of the event. And what will happen when you do endurance training to improve this aerobic system? Your vascularization within the muscle is going to improve. When vascularization means blood supply. So blood supply, when it is going to improve, your number and size of the mitochondria within your muscle fiber, they are going to improve. Now, everyone knows, we have read from, I think from 7th or 8th standard, that ATP is the source of energy in our body, and ATP is produced from the mitochondria. So if I'm saying mitochondria is going to increase, it means directly my ATP stores are going to increase. When ATP will increase, my energy level is going to shoot up completely. Then my activity of my enzymes is also going to improve. My aerobic capacity will improve by 15. This all will lead to improvement in my aerobic capacity by 15 to 25% regardless of the age and gender. So this is how the training and the nutrition will help me to work on my aerobic system, and then I can be able to have my peak performance, or anybody will able to have their peak performance. And it also improves your lactate threshold. Many people say that we got cramp, we got burning, we got muscle soreness. So that is because of the lactate production or lactate accumulation in your muscles. And what is lactate threshold? When your blood cannot excrete or cannot wash out your lactate, that becomes means you have reached your threshold, and then now it is accumulating. So it is going to improve your lactate threshold. Onset of blood lactate accumulation will decrease. And very important thing, that is your exercise, your post exercise oxygen consumption is going to increase. When your post exercise oxygen consumption is going to increase, it means your body will work more effectively even after your exercise, even after your event, to flush out all the metabolites which are going to cause the muscle soreness, and you will recover very fast. So our nutritional strategies basically work in and around this. They will work to improve your systems. They will work to improve your total capacity. So it works around the macro and the micronutrients. Macro and the micronutrients during your training period and during your during the day of the event, that is pre-event, during event, and the post-event. Remember, we have to avoid negative balance. Most of us will go into the negative balance when we are on our saddle. Third important thing, we have to practice sleep hygiene, not only before the day of our event, but it should be regular practice with our training regime. We have to increase some micronutrients, which I'll be telling you in detail also later. Out of them, two very important are vitamin C and omega-3 fatty acids, which will help you to reduce the inflammation when you are doing your brevets and when you're doing your ultracycling. Along with that, we have to maintain the muscle protein synthesis, and we have to focus on high biological value protein, which we have to take in multiple sessions and which we have to divide into many meals in a day. And also to improve our gut health. Gut is very important. So your stomach health, your gut health is one which is going to give you a lot of energy. So probiotics you have to include in your diet. Now coming to each of the nutrients. Now we have something called as macronutrient, we have something called as micronutrient. So in macronutrients, we have carbohydrates, we have proteins, and we have fat. So usually for the endurance events, they say that it has been research has documented that somewhere between 6 to 12 gram per kg per body weight carbohydrates are required, and the amount can go up if it is ultra cycling. The amount of carbohydrates can even go up, the utilization can even go up towards like something between 10 grams to 12 grams per body kg weight. Now what this carbohydrate are doing, what exactly, because everybody start talking about, we don't want carbohydrates, we want only protein. Everybody ask about protein, very few people ask about the carbohydrate. So but do we really know what carbohydrates are doing to our body? Are they really bad? Are they really enemies to us? So carbohydrate is going to give us something which is called as glycogen. Okay, this is a stored form of energy in your body, stored form of glucose. So glycogen, now glycogen is there in the muscles and there in the liver. So when you start your event, when you start your ultra cycling or brevets, so what happens is your body start utilizing the glucose. The first thing which will give you energy is the glucose. So what will happen is your glucose will come, blood glucose it is utilizing, and then after some time it will switch over to muscle glycogen. When the muscle glycogen depleted, it will switch over to liver glycogen. So this is a continuous process which will be taking place. Now this carbohydrate, when we take in a prescribed format during our event, which I'll be telling you in coming slides that how we are going to take them also. So these carbohydrates are going to replenish our glycogen stores, because they are the one which will give us sustained form of energy throughout our event, and they're going to maintain our blood glucose levels. Now when we say that they are going to maintain a blood glucose level, they're also having one very beautiful function. Now we just learned that mitochondria will improve with the endurance training. So they're also going to you can say they'll bring the energy from the ATP to give you at that point of time. And also very important, very important thing about the carbohydrate is and most neglected thing about the carbohydrate is that they are going to decrease your risk of injury. They are going to decrease a lot your risk of injury. Now how they are going to decrease the risk of injury? We think that protein builds a muscle, so if muscles are good, we are not going to get injured. But how carbohydrates beautifully decreases the risk of your injury is, see, you have, now if you have low muscle glycogen levels, so what will happen if you are not refueling yourself with enough of carbohydrate? You're already in the state of catabolism, that is breakdown of muscle and muscle protein in the body. So that's why when you don't have proper glycogen, proper blood glucose, you are in a catabolic state. So you will deplete on your muscle proteins. So that's why you are in more risk of getting the injuries. And second thing, which everybody talk, while doing 400 BRM or while doing ultra cycling, I can't manage my sleep. I get hallucinations. I think every person will resonate with me. We usually get hallucinations at 600 ultra cycling and even at 400. So that's one thing. It's actually the thing that one, we have not practiced properly. Second thing is we have not restored our glycogen stores properly. We have not taken the carbohydrate which was required by the body. So why? Because carbohydrate will give the glucose. Ultimate end product of carbohydrate is glucose. And the only source which brain can use for energy is glucose. The only source which brain can use is glucose. So if glucose levels are less, what will happen? Our concentration level are going to decrease. When concentration is decreased, automatically our motor skills, maybe holding the gears, changing the gears, even maintaining the posture is going to hamper. Visual accuracy, the visual accuracy is also going to change, and perception of fatigue comes. When all this comes, hallucination, we think that we are fatigued. Actually we are not fatigued, but you are mentally fatigued at that time. So perception usually comes. So if you have good amount of glycogen stored, you are going to delay your fatigue, you're going to improve on your peak performance, you're going to increase on your timing, improve on your timings and intensity. Now there are many, this is the thing, carbohydrate requirement for endurance athlete, which I'll share later. So I have already mentioned 10 to 12 gram if it is ultra cycling. Now there is something called as carbohydrate loading. There are two sets of the loading which has been given by the scientists. One is by the Bergstrom and second is by the Sherman et al. So it is like 7 days prior to the competition that or any event you are what you are going to practice. So they say that the first set of school had documented that, had reported that 7 days prior to the competition, you have to practice a bout of exhaustive exercise and decrease your muscle glycogen concentration. In the first 3 days, you have your low carbohydrate diet so that there should be muscle glycogen breakdown. And then 4 days later, prior to your event, you should be having high carbohydrate diet and decrease your training and volume, intensity, decrease it. Now, what in contrast to that, second regimen, second school of thought says that 7 days prior to your event, you practice routine what you are doing and don't make any conscious effort of doing extra, practicing extra, training extra to your body, and don't deplete your muscle glycogen. So what you do is that you should have a mixed diet and training and volume should be progressively reduced towards your event. And throughout the week, you should increase your carbohydrate in your diet and training and volume or intensity should be tapered. And nothing should be, no disruption of the athlete should be done just prior to the event. Now, there are pros and cons to both of this school of thoughts, which are very similar, Now, pros of both the school of thoughts are that they are going to increase your glycogen by 7 times. So your glycogen levels are going to increase by 7 times. So with that, definitely fatigue is going to delay and you will get the sustained energy for your event. But what is the disadvantages at the same time? Here you are making unconscious efforts to do and extra efforts to exhaust to do an training where you are going to deplete your muscle glycogen. So as we just learned that muscle glycogen is something which is going to help you to decrease the risk of injury. Here exactly we are increasing the risk of injury when we're doing extra amount of training just before a week our event, prior to our event, we are increasing the risk of our injury both the ways by putting more efforts in training and by decreasing the muscle glycogen. And even in 3 days, what they have told. So in 3 days, we can't train our gut. Usually we can't train our gut. It's not wise to train the gut, So the person may have bloating, person may have GIT disturbance, person may have weight gain also. Sometimes they say weight gain also in the 7 day, which is again going to decrease the peak performance of that individual. So what is bottom line? What is good thing which we can take from this is you have to start your training with sufficient muscle glycogen and even your event with sufficient muscle glycogen. You can take the carbohydrate rich food prior to the event. 10% you have to increase. Maximum is 10 to 12% of the carbohydrate you have to increase. But remember, carbohydrate loading is not overeating. It's not like I'm eating 1 bowl of khichdi, so I should take 2 bowls to increase my muscle glycogen. It doesn't mean that. Sufficient means high store, does not mean extremely high, which will again going to disturb your whole GI process. And if you're taking extremely high, the breakdown process, the physiological and biochemical breakdown process is also faster. Anyways, this thing is not going to serve. Your motor is not going to serve. So bottom line is increase your carbohydrate intake by 10 to 12% 2 days prior to your event, but in moderate to high amount and not extremely high amount. Now coming to protein, this is about the carbohydrates, how you're going to manage them. Now second is protein. Protein, I have written very high. This is 1.5 to 1.7. It is for the ultra athletes, ultra cyclists and ultra cyclists, you can say. But for BRMs, brevets, you can go up to 1.2 to 1.4 gram per kg your body weight. And for females, just remember that specifically for protein, the requirement for the females is 15% lesser than the males. Okay, it's not equal to the males because we have less muscle mass as compared to the males. So it's roughly 15% less than the what is determined for males. So now coming to protein, everybody knows that protein is very important, very important. Now, what exactly, what miracle protein is doing in our body? First thing, it's going to repair your muscles. That is a very, very important thing. Second thing is repair and remodeling of the muscles, definitely. Second important thing is that it helps you. Protein helps you for your normal hormone synthesis, irrespective of gender. In male and female, it helps you in all of your hormone synthesis. If proteins are less, your hormonal synthesis is going to disturb. Third thing is, it's going to prevent you from the injuries, and it also helps you in recovery of your muscle. But what I want to add here is, although protein have miracles to do in your body post event also, because it's helping in your wear and tear mechanisms, whatever has happened. One statement I want to make here is, and want to make everyone clear of, because everyone is very fond of protein. Although protein is critically important in health, but remember, consuming extra protein is not going to improve your peak performance if you are going to replace your protein with carbohydrates. You are not supposed to replace your proteins with the carbohydrates. Proteins will not increase. The research, so many of research shows that protein will not improve your peak performance if you think that you are replacing the proteins with the carbohydrates. Now coming to fats. So fat requirement usually we calculate after calculating your protein and carbohydrate requirement. It's very individualized approach, although I've given the normal values, but it depends upon individual to individual, depending upon their height, weight, BMI, their requirements, their training level, the event in which they are participating, the intensity at the working, their VO2 max, their BMR. So many things we'll see before we decide upon that what is your body requirement. Fat, usually we give less than 25% of the total energy requirement. Usually it comes to somewhere between 1.5 to 2 grams per kg body weight for the people who are attempting brevet and ultracycling. Now, in that 25% is 25% of fat also. In that also we aim at, giving you less than 10% saturated fat. We give usually less than 10% saturated fat and more of your essentially fatty acids include in your dietary pattern. Now, why these fats are also equally important? Fats have something to do with your inflammatory responses, because your body will go on tear and wear mechanism after your event or after your training process. So there will be inflammation. So fats are something which has to do something with the inflammation. They are going to oxidize your ATP and give you the energy, and they also produce ATP because they're going to oxidize the fatty acids. And very important, many of you have asked me question in the Google form also about the vitamin D. So main person who is going to synthesize your vitamin D and other steroid hormone is your fats. So if you don't take care of your fats and if you ignore your fats, you are playing with your vitamin D and your steroid hormones. So you will not reach your peak performance if you're ignoring your fats also. And along with that, you have something called as fat soluble vitamins. So fat soluble vitamins are only going to absorb if you have good amount of fats in your body. So this is what fats are going to do. Now coming to micronutrients. Micronutrients are mainly coming from your fruits and your vegetables. Most of them. You have list. You have A, B, C. A. Then you have C, D, E. You have B complex of vitamins. Along with that, you have minerals also, and main minerals which is required for you is calcium, zinc, magnesium, and iron. These are the main things. So these you have to take care of, your all micronutrients. If you're taking good care of your vegetable portions and your fruit portions, I think you will get good amount of your micronutrients from them, along with some amount of seeds. And many people ask about whey protein in the questionnaire, so I have included. So one whey protein scoop is somewhere between 20 to 30 grams. Average 27 grams is one scoop, 25 to 27 grams. So depending upon your body need, you can include this, but please consult your physician or your sports nutritionist or your nutritionist before including this into the diet, you don't replace it for the carbohydrates I have already mentioned, other sources of proteins. No. Remember that body has its own beautiful mechanism of synthesizing the protein. Then we have glutamine. Somebody asked for the glutamine also. Yes, glutamine, which is help in the muscle recovery. Usually we give it's like 5 gram per sachet. Usually it comes. Usually we give it for the muscle recovery. Same for the beta alanine, creatinine monohydrate, and caffeine for stimulation. But yes, all of them we don't give on the day of the event. These all are given in proper regime. We give them, and we usually incorporate them during the training process itself. So your body is used to it to absorb it and give you the required amount of energy what you wanted at that time. But if you're taking only or utilizing this, or you are taking this only during the day of event, it may cause you GI distress, it may cause you different other problems, set of the problems if you're not used to this. So if you really want to try on this for your ultra cycling, you have to be taking this during your training sessions. You have to start this from the training session, that is somewhere between 4 to 6 months prior to your event, not even 1 month prior to your event. Then come very important concept also, immunity. So many people say, that we exercise so much, but still we catch cold very fast. We have so many problems very fast. So remember that immunity is something related to your stress hormones, mainly your stress hormone. I'm talking about the cortisol. So body when feel, suppose if you are overtraining yourself, body will not take it as good thing that you are doing something good to your body. They will take that overtraining and over exercise also as a stress. So body thinks that there is some danger to my body. So to protect the body, it's a natural phenomena that body produce cortisol, and cortisol will again increase your blood glucose level. It will deplete the other things. So again your immunity is going to compromise. So you have to properly train your, or you have to properly schedule your training, micro training, macro cycle, meso cycles, when you're going to train, when is your off season, when is your full training season. All this has to be properly scheduled. Accordingly, your nutrition and your supplements have to be scheduled as per your event requirement and your body requirement. And along with that, you have to practice the good sleep hygiene. Good sleep hygiene is you should have that fixed timings, and there should not be change in those timings. Yeah. Now, there's a concept, why I'm focusing so much on all this, and this central nervous fatigue theory is depending upon 3 factors. Factor 2 and factor 3 depends majorly upon factor 1. And now, what is this factor 1 basically? So, factor 1 is when again it comes to your carbohydrate, your blood sugar levels or blood glucose levels. If your blood glucose level is less in your body, okay, I'm talking about, you start feeling mentally fatigued before you actually get physically fatigued. What is the phenomena behind why it is happening in your body during your events? So what usually happens when you don't have the proper glycogen stores, when your blood glucose starts depleting? So what brain will do at that time? Brain wants glucose. So brain knows there is no muscle glycogen. So brain has its own smart functions to do. Brain stimulates gluconeogenesis. It means that it instructs the body to make the glucose, but not from the carbohydrate because you don't have it. It will tell the body to make the glucose from other people around, maybe from protein, maybe from fats, maybe from other things. Okay, so many other things, maybe from amino acids and other things. So it will tell the body to prepare glucose from me, no matter what, from where you are going to get, you get it from me. And that is called as gluconeogenesis. It means production of glucose from other sources than the normal carbohydrate. So in this process, what exactly happen is, now mainly it will get the main substrate I have told you, it will get from protein and amino acids, which are present in your muscle. So muscles become your main substrate. So what will happen at that time is, at that time when your brain orders this, your body already starts undergoing catabolic process. The body is undergoing catabolism. What will happen during this catabolism? Catabolism decreases the branched chain amino acids, BCA, branch chain amino acid, that is your valine, leucine, and isoleucine. So they start depleting. Now, beautification of this BCAAs, branch chains amino acid, is this BCAA along with one more amino acid, which is called as tryptophan. Okay, another amino acid which I have written here is tryptophan. They compete with one same receptor to reach, okay, to enable their passage to brain. Okay, it means that if I have to simplify that, if we have to reach from one place to another place, from place A to place B, I need a transporter in between. Maybe I'll take my 4-vehicle. So 4-vehicle is my receptor. Here also, if I have to reach brain to give the energy, my receptor for tryptophan and from BCA is a specific receptor. And both of us are competing. Who will sit first in that? Okay, who will sit first in that receptor? Now, when BCA is less, okay, when your BCA is already less because of the mechanism I've told you, so tryptophan will have high privilege to go into that receptor and reach to the brain. And you know what tryptophan is going to do? Your tryptophan gets more space now to reach your brain. So this stimulates your brain to produce something which is called as 5-hydroxytryptamine or serotonin. Okay. Now what it will do is this serotonin will get you premature fatigue. You are not fatigued now, but you will start feeling fatigue with this. That's what happened during our brevets and ultracycling. So this is where the importance of, you know, consumption, sorry, this is spelling mistake, consumption of food which is high in tryptophan. One thing which is very high in tryptophan is we usually practice also, and we say that we get good sleep after having this. So it's milk. Milk is rich in tryptophan. So if we have something which is rich in milk or something like that, dairy products, so that will also do the same mechanism and may induce your premature fatigue. We think that we are taking a lot of protein from the milk at that time when we are in the event and if we want to have, but it's not like that. Then third competitor for this particular receptor is fats. So if you're having high fat diet when you are on your event, on the day of your event, when you're not practicing on the day of event, you are taking it, that also is an competitor for your receptor. So it will also do the same thing, and it also leads to the premature fatigue, which is called as central nervous fatigue. So central nervous fatigue, to, you know, overcome this, you should be having proper nutrition during your training and on the day of your event. Now, what exactly is this planning? How you'll do it? What is a window of opportunity for your pre-event, during event, and post-event? So training, till now I have covered the training. Then during the training, you have to take care of your macro and the micronutrients. Now coming the window of opportunity, that what best you can do during your events. Pre-event, just prior to your event, you focus on your high to medium GI foods. That is high to medium glycemic index food means which will release glucose slowly into your bloodstream. Okay, those kind of carbohydrates you have to take. You're not supposed to take which will release immediate glucose in your bloodstream. Moderate amount of protein you have to include, and low amount of fat you have to include in your diet. Examples of pre-event, like just before event, what you can have is 2 hours before your event. What you can have is, I've given you some examples because many people have asked, can you give us some examples of what exactly we can have before the event? If event is starting at 6 or 5:30, so you have to practice your sleep pattern. You have to get up at 3:30. Have your one of these. You know, you can have other things also, but one of these, like bowl of cereal, jam sandwich, toast and honey, baked bean and toast, low-fat cereal bar. If you like pancakes, if you like smoothies or bananas. So these are some of the options which I have given you. Now, what comes during the event? During the events, you have to take the carbohydrate sources which will get oxidized fast, which will give you energy fast. Okay, and the guidelines says that you should have 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour to maintain your peak performance. Okay, it should be somewhere between 30 to 60 grams and never exceed 30 to 60 grams because it is going to give you GI distress. Okay, so maintain your ratio between 30 to 60 grams of your per hour actually. And rate of absorption is Why we counted 60 grams? Because the rate of oxidation of carbohydrates, rapidly oxidized carbohydrate, is 1 gram per minute. So that's how we calculated 60. So if you eat more than 60, it's not going to get absorbed. The rate of absorption will not take it. So you are going to get, ill effect of it. So that's why limit yourself to somewhere between 40 to 60 grams. And then what you can practice along with carbohydrate is sports drinks. Few people have also asked me about the sports drinks. I will cover in my next slides about the sports drinks. So you have different category of sports drink. Don't just pick anything from the shelf that it is going to give you energy. There is something called as hypertonic sports drink, isotonic sports drink, and hypotonic sports drinks, which I'll explain you in the next slide. So you will have a clear idea that when you are going to take which kind of sports drink. And post event, usually we focus on the recovery nutrition. So the main aim of the post event is three things: restore, repair, and prepare you for the next event or next day if it's brevet or ultra cycling. So restore means we have to restore our proteins resynthesis, glycogen, and fluid and electrolyte balance. Okay. Repair is tissue damage we have to repair. So we have to think about giving good biological protein. And prepare is, again, you have to give good amount of rest, sleep to prepare for the next day. Now, here you can give the combination of good carbohydrate and protein. I have given you some examples. So this should be given within 60 to 90 minutes of post event, so that your store starts replenishing. It can be, one banana plus 150 grams of low fat yogurt, 3 slices of whole bread plus 3 egg whites. If you are vegetarian, 3 palm sized rotis plus 120 gram to 150 gram of your low fat paneer. Or if you're non-vegetarian, even chicken will go good. So these are the few examples that how you can manage your post-recovery nutrition. And if you're taking whey proteins, if you're used to it, if you're taken that in your training, so you can take even 2 scoops or 1 scoop depending upon your requirement of the whey protein, maybe in milk. That will be a good source at that time post-recovery. Okay, so in the milk or with the banana also you can make a smoothie, and with the peanut butter also you can make a smoothie and have it. Now, next important aspect of it after your macronutrients, taking care of your macronutrient during the event. The second important thing is see how we calculate hydration is how much you require is it's depending upon your body mass and how much fluid you have taken, how much is the urinary loss, and how much is the duration of exercise is. So if I have to tell you, I don't know where I'm just okay. If I have to tell you, that how basically we work with it is, we work with how much fluid you are losing during your event, maybe brevet, maybe your ultra cycling, how much fluid you are losing. It will depend upon your intensity at which you are working at that time, your mileage, I mean to say your mileage of your at which you are riding your bike or riding your bicycle, the temperature in which you are riding. So the maximum temperature, the upper limit of the temperature which a human can sustain is somewhere between 42 to 43 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now what it has been, research has been proven that a person somewhere loses, if they are riding at a moderate to vigorous intensity also, somewhere between the speed of 25 to 30 also, they are going to lose approximately 900 ml of water in form of sweat in 30 minutes. So if I have to take a rough 1 liter in 30 minutes, so means, yes, 1 liter in 30 minutes, so 180 somewhere, yeah, approximately 2 liters in 1 hour. So if the temperature is very high, so depending upon in which temperature you are riding, you have to calculate your sweat loss, and accordingly you are going to work on your hydrating mechanism, hydrating compensatory mechanism. Water, you can take alternatively plain water and the sports drink. So don't pick anything which is on the shelf. Think what you need at that time, in which state you are, when you want, pre-event, post-event, during event. Think all those things and then decide. So there are 3 forms of sports drink, that is hypotonic, isotonic, and hypotonic. Hypertonic is, it contains more than 8 gram of carbohydrate per 100 ml of the solution. So it means that it is also having carbohydrates in it. and it is absorbed slower than the water because it is having carbohydrate in it, and it is going to supplement your carbohydrate. Okay, so you can take it post training to aid to fasten your recovery. Red Bull, everybody take during the ride. Most I have seen during the ride also. So it could be better choice after the ride, and fruit juices. Okay. Now come to isotonic. Isotonic is 6 to 8 grams of carbohydrate, and along with that we have 20 millimole of sodium per 100 ml of the solution or 100 ml of the water. So it means that it's having good amount of your electrolyte plus your carbohydrate, and it is absorbed at same rate at which water is going to absorb. Plain water, what you are taking, at the same rate it will absorb. So means it's a good source of quickly replacing your fluid loss, and you're repairing your glycogen stores. So this becomes your good choice when you are, when you are riding your bicycle, means during the events. So it will help you to refresh it, and natural sources of it can be even fresh lime water. So it will be help to refuel and rehydrate. Now coming to hypotonic solution is having less than 8 grams of your carbohydrate in 100 ml of solution, and it will also get absorbed quickly than water because it's having lesser, and it quickly replaces the fluid loss. Okay, so ORS and coconut water becomes the good sources of hypotonic solution. So when you are doing your brevets and ultra cycling, so you have to keep in mind during your events you have to balance with the isotonic and hypotonic solutions. Okay, alternatively you will be switching on between the isotonic, hypotonic and plain water, and after the race, after your event, it should be hypotonic solution. Now some people also ask me about the sports gel. Sports gel, what additionally they have caffeine in them. Carbohydrate and electrolytes we have in the isotonic sports drink also. But now additionally in sports gel we have something called as caffeine. So which is a brain stimulant usually. Okay, it's going to stimulate your metabolism, it's going to stimulate your brain, it's going to stimulate your heart rate. But remember, don't try it on the day of the event. It should be practiced during your training session. So in that also we have something called as isotonic sports gels and energy sports gels. So isotonic sports gels which you're going to take, they have to be priorly mixed. They are priorly mixed with water, and they will replenish your glycogen stores quickly. For energy gels, you have to stop at some time. You have to mix them with water, and you have to take them. That's the only difference between energy gel and isotonic sports gel. So take care of your hydration properly. According to the timing given, you have to properly hydrate yourself, which is very, very, very important. As I already explained you all these things, that how much you have to take. Along with that, one or two people have also asked me about the pumps. Can you tell something about pumps? Okay, so coming to pumps, again, a very cautious statement. You're not supposed to take pumps, utilize pumps or any other supplements without any experts' advice. So please keep expert into your loop on your training phase when you're planning to use all these supplements. Now in pumps we get arginine pump. Okay, arginine pump, basically what it do is, a short of it, what it is going to do is, it's going to increase your nitric oxide levels in your body. What nitric oxide will do it increases your blood flow. Okay, so when blood flow is improved or increased, it's going to flush out your metabolites, so the fatigue is going to delay. Usually what I usually prefer to give to my athletes is, I give them beetroot and spinach shots. Okay, I give them 60 ml of beetroot, 60 to 90 ml depending upon the event. In between the event, I usually tell them to take the beetroot shots, beetroot and sometimes beetroot shots, sometimes beetroot spinach shot, the training session. So this beetroot, what it is rich in, it is rich in nitric oxide basically. So beetroot shot exactly do the same thing what arginine shot is going to do. Now coming to the citrulline, which is also available. So citrulline is also going, it's combination of you can say arginine and nitric oxide function, because what it will do is, citrulline, it will enhance the amount of enzyme which will increase nitric oxide, that is nitric oxide synthase. So it works in the similar grounds. Then we have glutamine. I have already told glutamine is anti-catabolic and it helps you to repair your muscles. Then branch chain amino acid. Branch chain amino acids are important. They are going to enhance your muscle protein synthesis post event and even during the event. it is going to increase your fat oxidation, so that you should have the energy ATP coming from the fat oxidation also, and it decreases the muscle soreness because it's going to improve your muscle protein synthesis. Then there is something leucine synthesis is basically, or leucine is basically going to stimulate the pathway which is called as mTOR pathway, which basically improves your muscle protein synthesis. And then comes your medium chain triglycerides, your fatty acids, only form of fatty acids. So shorts of it gets easily absorbed in your bloodstream. Somebody has asked me about coconut shots, coconut oil shots and all. So they are basically comes in medium chain triglycerides. So they give you rapid energy, but the caution is, if you are not trained, if you have not taken any of this during your training events, there is no use, no recommendation to take during your day of event. They are not going to help you at all. Yeah. Now coming to what you are supposed to do pre-event week. Follow your nutrition plan, which you are doing since your training days. Don't worry about what others are doing, what others are eating. Everybody is a unique body. Everybody needs a different nutrition plan. So what I am eating may not be applicable to you. What you are eating may not be applicable to me. So you have to focus on what you have trained with, and same you have to follow during your event. Do not try anything new on your event day, and practice whatever you're planning to eat on your event day prior to your event, so that you are comfortable during that day. Then these are the few options. Pre-event, good breakfast. I have already covered this 2 hours prior to the event and half an hour prior. You can take some fruit, maybe a banana or maybe an apple, which are slow GI foods, which are slow releasing blood, slow releasing energy foods. During the event, always remember to sip on your energy drinks, your sports drink every 20 minutes, because I have just told you about the sweat loss for 30 minutes. And post event, a combination of protein and carbohydrate diets are given you. And very important is to train your gut. Gut has to train properly during your training session. Okay, if you're training for 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months, your gut has to train. Nothing trying new things during your event day, because it has some physiological effects. If you try something new, it can cause you bloating, it can cause you stress, it can increase your GI motility, peristalsis. So you may have diarrhea also. You may have different variety of the symptoms. So it's mandatory that you should train your gut after taking care of your hydration. And sports nutrition, it's a continuous journey. It won't end there. Your sports nutrition, this thing. Female athletes have different requirement than male athletes, depending upon, again, each female athlete and each male athlete have their own individual body requirement. They have their own liking and disliking of food. They have own food choices depending upon the region which they stay. There is something called as prioritize your nutrition as you prioritize your training. The cycle, mesocycle, microcycle, macrocycle, same is applicable to nutrition also. The nutrition is very specific to injury. If somebody is having injury, the nutrition approach will be different. Before taking any newer supplement, don't try it in the day of event. You have to do it, try it on the day of, on your training phases. See to it what suits your body, and that only you have to take during your event days. Think, you have to understand your body, and when your body is undergoing the energy deficiencies, your event days, you have to be very peculiar. Should know, you have understood the mechanism of delayed fatigue now, how you're going to manage it, and your diet strategies should be worked upon during your training session. Thumb rule is, keep feeding yourself before you get exhausted. It's always better be safe than sorry. So that's all I have to say about your nutrition plan. And the bottom line will be, it is customized to each individual. If I say 10 grams per carbohydrate should be given, it will be very specific to the person, depending upon the body weight, height, the training session you are going, the event you are practicing, the temperature which you are going to ride. Everything we take into consideration, and then we come up with the customized plans. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm open to the questions I get.
Thank you, Harpreet. We can have questions now. You can type in chat window or you can raise your hand.
First question is there any relation between heart rate and protein intake? Yes, it do have the relation. Okay. See, your heart rate basically depends upon your parasympathetic and sympathetic stimulation by the body. Okay. And your parasympathetic and sympathetic stimulation comes from your catecholamines. And catecholamines are formed from, as I told you, all hormones are formed from your protein. Proteins are the precursors. So it do have the relationship. Yes. Then I have the second question is 30 to 60 grams of carb or protein? No, 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates I was talking about.
Let us also touch upon female athletes, older female athletes. I think we have a lot of women riders doing BRMs and coming into ultra cycling also, 40 plus, and how does it affect their health?
Yeah. Yes, Rini, definitely. See, now when we talk about female athletes and female riders, it becomes a different ballgame itself. That too after the age of 40 and 45, because most of the women now, everyone knows that even the menopause is, come to the age of 40 to 45. So we have hormonal issues at that time. We have the hormonal, and second thing is there is something called as sarcopenic obesity. Okay, two things in the mind. Now, what this sports nutrition and your training sessions will do to your body is it will stimulate your bones. It will stimulate your bones. So your bone mineral density is going to improve and you will have less chances of osteoporosis later. Second thing is if you're training properly, your muscle protein synthesis mechanism inside the body is going to improve over a time. Your fat ratio inside the body is going to flip with your protein. You might be weighing 60 kg. If somebody has asked that I'm not reducing weight even after the cycling so much. See, it's not only about the weight. You're having 60 kg. A 60 kg female can have good muscle mass and less fat amount. So you have to think about your fat and muscle proportion. So second thing is you have to work on your muscle protein synthesis mechanism. So your training should take care of. Third thing is you have to take care of, very, very important for females is you have to please get yourself tested for serum calcium. I'll repeat it very slowly. Serum calcium levels, serum vitamin D levels, serum vitamin B12 levels, serum ferritin levels, your hemoglobin, and your iron binding capacity. These are the few things which you have to evaluate. Irrespective of how much you're practicing, if these things are low in you, which are bound to happen in females, which we see 70, not 70, I can say 80 to 90% of the females are deficient in all these things. So you have to take care of this. I'll take one example and make you understand. Now we talk so much about vitamin D. Vitamin D normal range is somewhere between 200 to thousands, in its units. But what we found in females is it is less than 20. Okay, less than 20. We have witnessed a female who are having just 10, 13, 14, 16, like that. Somewhere between ranging, touching the 20. So how much effort you put, you neither lose on weight, neither you will improve your peak performance because your vitamin D levels are really, really less. So main source of vitamin D is your sun rays, everyone knows, and it's very minimal capacity from the body which can produce vitamin D. So you have to take the supplements till you meet your normal levels, and then you have to switch on to the dietary supplements. Okay, don't think that dietary supplement can help you immediately to reverse your deficiencies. If there are severe or acute deficiencies, we have to take help of the medications and supplements and then bring back to the dietary interventions. But yes, for female athletes, these all things are very important. And along with that, your protein intake is very important, very, very important. Okay. Being Asian population, somewhere we are deficient in our protein amounts. So protein is something which you have to really, really look upon. Yeah.
There is one question. Is caffeine shot intake recommended for ultra cycling? It will make our minds awake as soon as we take it, but will it tire us later?
See, caffeine is something. Now, if you have to ask me about the caffeine, I'll tell you first the mechanism. Caffeine is something which is a brain stimulant. That's why when we are in low mood, also we want to have the coffee, right? So caffeine is something which will stimulate your brain, no doubt about it. Yeah, it will tire you later only and if you have not practiced caffeine shots during your training period, because caffeine is also an what you can say, caffeine is something which is going to increase your urine output. So you will be dehydrated. When you are dehydrated, again your mind will not work properly, right? So to have the good effects of caffeine, you have to include it in your training schedules so that you should reach your threshold of using the caffeine, and that it should act as a brain stimulant and not as a dehydrating, dehydrating material.
Okay, next one. You mentioned the importance of gut health and probiotics. How can we maintain this? Supplement or foods?
See, gut health is something which will come through few things. First thing is your proper timing to have the food. This is first thing. Okay. Second thing is your sleep hygiene. You have to sleep at the same timings, 6 days, at least 6 days in a week. Third thing is we have something called as gut brain axis. There's a connection between the gut and the brain. So to maintain that, you should be having a balanced diet. All the three meals should be balanced one. Fourth thing is probiotic in your diet, which can come from the rich source of probiotic is your curd, buttermilk, or even your fermented foods, which you take, idli, dosa, everything, all fermented foods are very good for your gut health. So if you're taking all this in your regular diet, you don't need supplements. Okay, you don't need supplements. If you're not taking in this your regular diet, then we recommend the supplements. If somebody is lactose intolerant, right, then we have to put in something else which can take care of the gut microbiome. But otherwise, 90% of the population can either having the fermented food once at least in a day, or you can have once in a day at least a bowl of curd. That will take care of your gut health. But yes, hydration, eating less spicy food, less oily food, it's mandatory.
Okay, any other question?
I can see one, best sources of carb during ride and sources of fat. Best sources of carb during ride. Okay, when you're riding, you have to take the carbs which are some during the ride. It should be instant energy giving. So you can have rice. Okay, rice is a good source of any cereal for that matter, and you can say rice. Usually we tell people to have a bowl of khichdi, bowl of curd rice. That will be a good thing. But you have to get down and eat those things. And if you want to eat while riding only, you just roll your chapati with peanut butter, which is balancing your carbs, proteins, and fats. You can eat it, roll it, and keep having it. Your idli is a good source of carbs during your riding. Your dosa will be a good source of carb, but don't eat too much dosas because it may, elevate your thirst mechanism. But yes, idli is a good source. Your poha is a good source. Your upma is a good source. Your, chapati with even egg inside is a good source. Peanut butter is a good source. These all are the good source.
How to maintain good levels of hemoglobin on vegetarian diet?
Okay. So this is, a common question that vegetarians think that they are less on the hemoglobin levels. Okay. Now see, we have to understand hemoglobin is made up of two things. Ideally, it's a chemical compound which is made up of two things: heme and globin. Heme and globin, I'll repeat. Heme is which is coming from your iron. So you have to see the food which are rich in iron. Okay, you have to consume those foods. And for globin part, globin comes from protein. So you have to take the foods which are rich in protein. So if I have to give you an example of this, your all greeny leafy vegetables are good source of your iron, including spinach, and your protein comes from your sprouts. If I give you one immediate example, so it will give you a good amount of protein. see to it that you are having high biological value protein in your diet every day. When I say high biological, and when we have to specifically talk about vegetarian people, see, what is the problem between the non-vegetarian and vegetarian? If you say non-vegetarian, we'll give all the amino acids, essential amino acids from non-veg sources. But what will happen in vegetarian diet will not get from all amino acids from one dal or one legume or one cereal, you can say. So what we need to do is we need to combine the cereals and legumes or your cereals and legumes or grains so that you are getting everything together. So that's why I say that when you are practicing khichdi, so khichdi becomes your high biological value protein. When you mix dal and your rice, it becomes your very good source of good protein. So like that, you include all these good sources of green leafy vegetables and dal every day in your diet. Dal can be anything. Huh? It can be tur dal, Bengal grams, green grams, sprouts, chickpeas, rajma. One dal every day. And all the three meals should have carbohydrate and proteins. Okay. When you see your plate, you should be able to make out that yes, it is having the protein. Then you will not be deficient of hemoglobin. It's about daily protein intake. Yes, daily protein intakes, ma'am, again depends upon your body weight. Very true. It depends upon your body weight. That's a generalized statement. But basically, it depends. When you're talking about the sports, mechanism, it depends upon at what intensity you are training, what is the duration of your training, and we have a fit principle: frequency, intensity, mode of training, type of training, and how you're progressing your training. So all these things we keep in mind when we recommend the protein intake. If you say average protein intake, I usually say that it is 15%. When we say that 60 grams, if I'm weighing 60 kgs, I need 60 grams of protein. So exactly, it is not like that. It will depend upon my fit principle, and then I can recommend whether I need 1 gram per kg body weight, or I may need 1.8 gram also. Okay, depending upon my fit principle. Now you're asking me about intake from vegetarians. Yes, you have to be consciously including the things which are good in protein in all your three meals. That's what I was discussing right now. So good protein sources are all your lentils, all your dals, your paneer. But yeah, paneer, you have to remember that it is equally it's have equal amount of fat also. So it should be low fat paneer. Your soya bean, your rajma, your chickpeas, use in different forms. Usually what I say is to my athletes who are vegetarian, that at least take in one meal you take sprouts, in one meal you take dal mandatorily, and paneer is mandatory for them. So in your every means, same principle comes in your each plate. Every time you eat, see to it that one portion of protein is always there in your diet, and always mix your cereals and grains and your dal, so that you should have that high biological protein. See, some people just practice कि मैं दाल खाऊंगा. If I take 2 katoris of dal, I'll be having more protein. No, you will have only some amount of amino acids. You will not have good amount of biological protein. So for that, you have to mix it with your cereals. So in that way, you can maintain your protein levels. And still, if you think your intensity and progression is high, then you have the plants-based protein sources also. I mean, powders also. You have something plant-based sources, and even your peas-based plant protein also come. And even peas are having the good source. Brown rice are having the good source of protein. But only brown rice, only peas will not help. It should be mixture of 2-3 cereals and grains. That will help you more.
There is a question from Kinjal. How to manage carbohydrate intake, because while we consider complex and simple carbs from fruits source, it shoots up the total carbohydrate ratio.
Okay. See, for this thing, when you talk, I guess you're talking about, if I'm not wrong, Dr. Kinjan, it's about you're talking about the whole day carbohydrate ratio, or
Yes,
whole day carbohydrate
whole day.
Whole day, no?
Calorie, as per the calorie chart, 50% from the carbs.
Okay, done. See, as per the calorie chart, generalized principles say that you should have 50 to 65% of carbohydrates. Okay. In that carbohydrates, 50 to 65%. If I have to give you, suppose you are on a training plan. Let me give you an example. And you are on a 2000 calories diet.
Hmm.
So it means somewhere between your 1200 should come from your carbohydrates. I'm just assuming an example. So what we have to do is we have to take complex carbohydrate. Complex carbohydrate, the basic thing what we have told is it is going to release your uh, sugar slowly. That is the thing. But when you talk about in terms of calculation, then moderation plays a huge role. So you are supposed to break down your carbohydrates into 3 to 4 meals. Okay. If you want to take fruit, it has to be mid morning meal or mid evening meal or your pre you can say training meal. So in that way, you're you're going to maintain the amount of carbohydrate which you have to take through. But don't take rich source of carbohydrate in one meal. That is going to shoot up your carbohydrate ratio. But if you are slicing it them into five equal amount, then I don't think so that you should have a major problem in maintaining your total calorie amount. Now, when you're
Okay.
talking about fruit sources,
Thank
also,
you.
Yeah, Dr. Kinjal, when you're talking about food sources, so you
Hmm.
have to be very smart in picking up the fruits. Now, there are fruits which are going to give you high glycemic load. So they will be increasing your carbohydrate ratio, which are purely like if I have to give you example, chiku versus apple. So
Low
smarter
glycemic
choice,
apple.
yeah. So this will be a smarter choice. So in fruit, you have to pick smarter choice like guava, apple, you can say pear, watermelon. So you seasonal fruits, in that seasonal fruits, pick the smarter choices.
So, another question was regarding vegetarian source and to cover up the protein as per the body weights. So, when we consider pulses and legumes, which are usually in the dried format, say any type of dals, it has also imbibed carbs. So, as you said, we should not consider, cover two carbs in single meal that will shoot up the carbs while we are trying to cover the protein. So, that usually happens. The Indian balanced diet theory, we take dal, we also take multigrain chapati. So, how to manage that? Because that at the end, it usually spoils the chart and shoots up the carb while we try to cover protein. Can you throw some light, please?
Yeah. See, when you do the diet planning in that way, okay, what we usually consider in the whole day, suppose I'll take an example of 2000 calories only. We divide 2000 into 600, 600, 600, suppose. Okay, another 200 to 300 for mid plans. So when we take 600, in that 600, we divide them that 600 calories. Out of that 600, 55% will be carbohydrates, 30 to 35% will be protein, and then less than that, whatever is remaining will be your fats, maybe 10 to 15% come as fat. So now you have to smartly fix your 50% of carbs there in that particular
Okay.
600 calorie schedule. Okay,
Hmm.
so you have to break it out and then you divide it into 50 30-20 ratio or 60 30-10 ratio. That is whatever you're taking for your training schedule. Okay, and then fix it there.
Correct.
If you fix it for every meal now, then you will not have the problem.
So that's really a juggling of final level. So
One
either
thing,
we choose brown rice or either we choose multigrain chapati, either of the one along with the dal. That's the usual story.
Grini, you want to
Yes.
add something? You were telling
no, I
something.
was saying that if you're trying, if you, this is like some any app, if you can track the macros, right? That will give you a better idea. So something like MyFitnessPal
Yes.
uh,
So
would help
I
you
do
to.
practice it with my fitness pal, and that is how I know it very well. Someday
Uh,
it messed up your carbohydrates, and especially when you don't have time to track in the food, because we believe after so many years of practice we know what to touch and what to leave. But sometimes when you are in rush, still it happens that you shoots your carb, and then when you realize at the end of the day while you're hitting the bed, you start feeding the chart and you realize, okay, where you stand today. So yes.
All right. I think we're running out of time now. We can probably take another question if you have one more question, last question.
Thanks, Dr. Harpreet.
Anybody? All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Harpreet Kaur. This was a really eye-opening and wonderful session. I think a lot of people have benefited from this. I think we will have a lot more questions coming up. Maybe we can have a follow-up session. If there are questions coming to you individually, let us know. We can plan something as a supplement session for this. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And hope to catch you again on the next monthly session from Audax India Women. Thank you, Dr. Maitli, for hosting this.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.